The woman continued moving closer to Kamita. He was still confused and scared. Then, unexpectedly, the woman only grabbed a towel and asked if she could use it. After she raised her head and looked at Kamita, it turned out that she was Tsuneki. Both of them stood there, frozen, staring at each other. The atmosphere soon returned to normal as Tsuneki started drying her wet hair with Kamita's towel. Kamita, still uncertain, asked if she was really Tsuneki and not a ghost. Nonchalantly, Tsuneki stretched out her leg towards Kamita and told him to look at her all he wanted to prove it to himself. While still stretching her leg, Tsuneki asked why Kamita was attending the summer course at that hotel. She assumed Kamita must have made some mistake. Kamita then explained that he was only there because Ikuo had invited him. Surprised, Tsuneki realized that Kamita was there to study. Now Kamita was the one feeling curious, wondering what had happened to Tsuneki to end up in such a situation. Tsuneki responded that she had been kidnapped and taken there by car. Kamita's imagination started to run wild. He then asked who had kidnapped her. With a bit of irritation, Tsuneki revealed that it was none other than her own parents. Tsuneki had been caught working a part-time job, so she was grounded for the entire summer break. When she insisted on going to a group date trip with Yuki and Yuko, her parents were furious and brought her to this hotel in the middle of the woods. Kamita sighed deeply. He had suspected that Tsuneki was lying about going on a vacation with her family. Tsuneki then argued that no girl would easily spill the details of her romantic escapades. Besides, there was no benefit for her in telling Kamita about the specifics of her summer trip. Tsuneki was starting to get a little angry. Kamita then asked if Tsuneki was planning to hike down the mountain dressed like that. Tsuneki confirmed it. She also complained that there wasn't a single bus stop around. Her parents had also confiscated her phone, so she had no choice but to wait for the rain to stop, but then she ran away after being attacked by a wild deer. Without thinking, she immediately climbed in through the window when she saw it was open. Kamita noticed water seeping from Tsuneki's pants, soaking the chair she was sitting on. He just looked at her, feeling a bit perverted. When Tsuneki glanced at Kamita, she suddenly realized and quickly stood up, apologizing for wetting his chair. Kamita also apologized, saying he wasn't thinking anything weird. They both stared at each other in awkward silence until, suddenly, Tsuneki sneezed. Kamita quickly handed her a tissue, suggesting she change her clothes before she caught a cold. Tsuneki thanked Kamita, but unexpectedly, all the clothes she had brought in her bag were also wet. As Tsuneki checked the contents of her bag, Kamita secretly tried to sneak a glance at her chest. He was startled when Tsuneki caught him. In the sudden movement, Kamita twisted his back and winced in pain. He realized it was karma. Since all of Tsuneki's clothes were wet, Kamita had the idea to borrow clothes from the other girls there. Tsuneki then reminded him that if it was late at night and a guy came asking to borrow a girl's clothes, the girl would undoubtedly be terrified. Kamita was left feeling confused. Tsuneki noticed a set of PD clothes piled on the table. She began using her hands to measure Kamita's body and her own, coming to the conclusion that their body sizes were almost the same. She then asked Kamita if she could borrow his PE clothes. Kamita felt awkward, knowing that his PE clothes were still sweaty. But without hesitation, Tsuneki sniffed the clothes and said they didn't smell that bad. Kamita's face turned red. It was the first time a girl had ever sniffed his clothes. He reluctantly allowed Tsuneki to take the clothes. Tsuneki thanked Kamita and walked out of his room carrying his PE clothes. Kamita still felt weird watching Tsuneki leave his room with his PE uniform. He was staring blankly at her walking down the hallway until he quickly retreated back into his room when two other guys walked by staring at him. Kamita was sitting on the toilet doing his business when suddenly Tsuneki appeared and started sniffing him. Naturally, Kamita was confused, wondering why Tsuneki was doing that. But she didn't answer and continued sniffing him even lower down his body. Kamita screamed, begging her to stop. He woke up suddenly, shocked. It was all just a dream. The next morning, Kamita walked down the hallway, rubbing his head, puzzled about why he had such a weird dream the night before. He entered the classroom but didn't see Tsuneki there. The atmosphere in the class felt very serious, making it hard for Kamita to fit in. A short while later, it was finally break time and Kamita was already in the cafeteria. He had finished eating and told Ikuo that he hadn't slept well last night, explaining what happened. Ikuo was shocked, surprised to hear that Tsuneki had also come to that place. But Kamita was confused to learn that Tsuneki wasn't in Ikuo's class either. Not long after, Tsuneki appeared near them and greeted them. They sat together, joined by another girl named Miko, who had been with Tsuneki in the Save Our Scores class. Apparently, it was just the two of them in that class. Kamina was surprised as he had never heard of a class like that. Sumeki confidently said it was an exclusive class just for the two of them. Mako explained that she and Sumeki had been labeled as problematic students and were locked away after yesterday's test. Sumeki was grateful that